Duty, honor, country dictate what you ought to be, what you can be, what you will be.
The destiny of man is not measured by material computations. When great forces are on the move in the world, we learn we're spirits, not animals.
Now, we are the masters of our fate.
Howdy, gents. Welcome back to another episode of the Wolf and Iron podcast. I'm your host, Mike Yarbrough, founder and curator of wolfandiron.com, and I'm glad you're here. Men, if you're joining us for the first time, let me just say welcome to you. Thank you so much for tuning into the Wolf and Iron podcast. I think you're going to experience something unique here. Wolf and Iron was created to help men heed the high call on their lives. And what that means is kind of like this, guys. Every one of us men feels that there's something greater that we're called to that we just don't see examples of. And maybe purposefully by the media. There's an active battle against what it means to be a man in the traditional sense and the truest sense in our culture today. And Wolf and Iron is designed to counter that and to build you up, to help you to become the best man that you can be, to heed that high call that you feel is on your heart, is on your life, the kind of man we really need in society. Okay, so I'm really excited about this episode. I get a chance to talk to my friend Raymond Johnston, and he's one of my favorite guys right now, because he's the guy who's doing all the social media marketing for Rustic in Maine, which is my other business aside from Wolf and Iron. He also helps out with some of the Wolf and Iron stuff, which is just kind of still growing. But Rustic in Maine has just taken off like crazy, and it's just been a wonderful experience for me to see how marketing works, just the power of Facebook ads, and just really getting my mind around how to market things in general. You know, my wife and I, we actually come from very different kind of backgrounds. Her family actually grew up with the jewelry stores and sort of had that sort of face-to-face kind of encounter. I don't actually consider what we do jewelry. We make these awesome handmade wooden rings out of historic woods and other unique materials. They just have a lot of meaning behind them. I never think about it as a jewelry store, and maybe that's helpful for me. But the online market and the ability to market these products to people, and to do that with other things too, with the Wolf and Iron store, which is just kind of coming about and kind of coming into its own, is just fascinating, guys. And I really wanted to share these kinds of things with you guys. But we go into more than that. You know, anytime you find somebody who really, really knows their craft very well, what you usually find is someone who has just a good handle on a lot of areas in life. And Raymond's that guy. There are a lot of things he just gets really well. And I think we go over a little bit more of our story about how we got connected and that kind of stuff in the podcast. So I'm not going to spoil that for you guys. But it's just one of those things that you can pick up on. When somebody's just sharp, they get it, right? And he talks, we even get into like, what's his morning routine? You know, we talk about success. We talk about the things that are working in terms of just general success, not just Facebook marketing, but just what are the things that are always going to help a business stand out and be successful. So I know you guys are going to get so much from this, and I don't want to delay this anymore. I'm really excited. Here's my friend, Raymond Johnston. Well, my friend Raymond Johnston, I'm so glad to have you on the Wolf and Iron podcast. Thanks for being here, man.
Hey, thanks, Mike. Love the podcast. Also love the Facebook group and how it's growing. It's really cool to see.
Yeah, thanks, man. And that's right. You are a member of the Facebook group. And so, guys, if you guys are in the part of our Wolf and Iron community, our free online Facebook group, you guys can head over there. And if you're not, it's wolfandiron.com/the group. And you can either, if you're a member already, they'll take you right to the page. If you're not, it'll prompt you to answer some questions and things like that to become a member. But Raymond's in the group as well. And so he definitely is on there. You guys can look him up and know who I'm talking about, see a picture, all that kind of stuff, connect with him. Well, you know, I really appreciate you being here, and I'll tell you, you're actually like one of my family's favorite guys right now, because you're helping my company make a lot of money, and that makes us happy. But you're also just a lot of fun to talk to. So my wife she looks forward actually to our conversations, because I don't know, you guys connect really well. You do a really good job, just kind of speaking her language, especially when it comes to the social marketing and all that kind of stuff that we're going to be talking about today. But we really appreciate you, man, and it's been just a pleasure working with you.
Thanks, Mike. I love working with you and Summer too. I wish we could have phone calls more often just to sit and chat, but I get with you guys moving and also your business growing. sometimes it's not always really time effective.
Yep. I know. And I'm such a down to business kind of guy. Summer's like wanting to talk about, we're going to decorate like this and we're going to put up these things. And that's fantastic. She loves people. I like people, but I'm always like, okay, we got to move on. We got other stuff to do, but no, you're absolutely right. Well, we're going to be talking about social media marketing. We're going to be talking about your expertise. I want the guys, if you're listening to this, I want you guys to be inspired by this conversation, because there's absolutely this new market out there that you guys are probably not real familiar with. Some of you are entrepreneurs and these things are really going to resonate with you. For some of you, this is going to be brand new kind of information. And so I really want this conversation that Raymond and I are having to really just inspire you to take risk in this new market, but also just have some understanding of how it all works. And I think once you begin to kind of see, we kind of peel away some of the layers, you get to see behind the scenes kind of things with how the marketing works and how businesses are doing business these days. You're going to be inspired to take action. But even though we're talking about all this social media stuff, you and I met in through social media, but it was a very organic way, right? I mean, it was. You saw me wearing a T-shirt or something like that. How'd this work?
Yeah. So it's actually, one of our clients, an amazing backstory, just a really cool story. Maybe we can get into it one time. But so they sell apparel, and I saw that you posted, because I followed Rustic in Maine for quite a while, because I thought you guys made really cool products, and I just loved the style, loved your story. And I saw one day that you posted you wearing one of their T-shirts. I think it was on Rustic in Maine and even on the Wolf and Iron Instagram account too. Yeah. And you were saying how much you liked it, how much you liked the brand. I was like, oh man, this is really cool. And so what I did was I sent you an email and pretty much said, hey, I love your products. I love what you do. I see that you love this company that I work with. And I've had a lot of success with them, and I would love to see how I can help you and your company grow. And so, yeah, it was extremely organic. It just so happened I'd already followed your accounts for a while. I saw that you loved other businesses that we've grown. It seemed like a perfect fit.
Yep. And when you first reached out, I'd had a few people reach out, and not making that personal kind of connection, but I had a few other people reach out and say, hey, I can help you with ads. I can help you grow your audience and that kind of stuff. But there was something about that, right, that you had actually taken the time to, you were legitimate, right? And I think this is going to tie into a lot of our discussion. I want you guys to understand, who are listening to this, that connections, real authentic connections, still matter. And you guys know this if you're buying stuff online. You know how this works. If you're following Wolf and Iron, you want it to be authentic. If you're following whoever else it is, you want it to be authentic. Authentic connections still matter. And so I don't want you guys to hear this podcast and think, oh, well, all it is just it's just algorithms and people behind the scenes, and they're just doing whatever. So for the guys that are not clued into maybe what you do, Raymond, give us just kind of your idea of what it is that your company does, what you guys are good at.
Sure. So I run an advertising agency called Social Hacker, and I refer to us as a growth agency. And what that means is everything we do is 100% tied back to sales, or if you're a service-based business, back to leads. And so what we do is we primarily focus on advertising and building sales funnels. So we use Facebook, Instagram, Google Shopping, and then when we need to, we also help with people's websites and just the whole process of getting people who have no idea who you are to come find out more about what you do, to sell them on your business, your product, or your service, and then have them become a customer and to get them to buy back from you repeatedly. And so we focus on growth. And I remember years ago, through a past business I used to work with, that they used to pay, a really big $1 million agency tons of money every single year. And at the end of the campaigns or quarter or whatever, we would all sit down, they'd show a report, and the business owner would always ask, okay, how much business did I get for what I paid for? And the agency said, well, they make an excuse of, we couldn't track it, or something wasn't tracking, or but we got a lot of clicks and we reached a lot of people. And I remember just how awkward those conversations were. And I told myself, if I ever start an agency, everything I do, how a business is going to judge me and my team of how successful we were, 100% it's only going to be based on sales, and that's it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's really been helpful for us. It's alleviated a lot of our fears, actually, because when we first began working with you, the thought was, how much are we going to be paying these guys, and how do we know how that's actually going to impact? How do we know what they're doing is actually bringing in sales and that kind of stuff? And one of the things that you've done really, really well is you've given us the ability to kind of throttle our sales, which is really important for us because we do so many on the Rustic and Maine side. We do handmade things. And so we can't accept, like all the orders in the world at once. Like a lot of companies would love to just grow, to scale to any size. We can't do that. We have to kind of grow at a certain pace. And so being able to throttle that's been really helpful for us. And you guys have done a great job with that. And also just being able to correlate the things that you guys are doing in the marketing end to the sales that we're getting on the Rustic and Maine side. And so we can just kind of see that ratio, and we just really feel very confident with your guys' approach to that. You did mention a couple of things, though, that I think a lot of guys are interested in. We're going to talk about funnels in just a second, but give us an understanding, just kind of a high level of how does it actually work? I mean, what you just said sounds awesome. Like, oh gosh, that's getting more leads, getting more sales, getting the things that you're doing, your product, what have you, out there in front of the people that need to see it or care about it. How does that actually work? Let's just use Facebook as an example because it's kind of the behemoth these days.
Sure. So, man, that conversation, we could probably spend 100 hours talking about and still not touch on everything.
Sure.
But simply, so it kind of goes down to one, are you the person that has money to invest or you don't? Number one, if you have money to invest, the best way to do it is to use their advertising platform. And so that goes across both Facebook and Instagram. Mm-hmm. And even though all the hearings that Mark Zuckerberg has been having, this past week, there's 2 billion people using the platform. So I guarantee it, the people you want to buy your product or your service are using the platform. Yep. So the advertising platform is 100% the best way to reach your audience. And you can target pretty much anything you can think of. So imagine all the settings on your personal profile. So what you like, what you dislike, what your relationship status is, how old you are, your age, your gender, where you live. Those are all features that you can target. And so you can imagine if you're a local business, you can drill down to the exact right people in your in your geography. Mm-hmm. To buy your product. So if you have a restaurant, a pizza place, you can target teenagers between the age of, 17 and even college age students to get them to come and get a piece of pizza, right? And then so you have the advertising platform, and there's thousands upon thousands of interests and demographics you can choose from, and even down to how many people Facebook thinks are in your household. But then for the people who don't have the money to invest, and this is really important, this is where a lot of people get it wrong, is they think, I don't have money to invest. But the thing is that there's so many free ways that you can get people aware of your product or your service that you don't need money to invest at first. To grow and to really scale, you do. But just to test your business to see if someone's willing to buy it, or just if you don't have money, just to take advantage of those free methods, it costs no money to you. It's just time. And so, for instance, let me give you an example. So, there's a local friend here where I live, and he has a full-time job, but he likes to redo furniture. And so what he does is, you've heard of Facebook Marketplace, right? Yeah. And so probably 3 or 4 times a week, he posts on Facebook Marketplace these new pieces that he's refurbished. And then also every city now and every town, they have local Facebook groups to buy and sell and trade. A lot of them have tens of thousands of people in it. Yep. And he posts in that Facebook group too. And this guy, he makes $1,500 to $2,000 a month extra as a side hobby, just taking advantage of free awareness. If anyone can post on it, no one has to pay, and it's free awareness. And it's a perfect way for you to find out, okay, one, if I'm starting a new business, are people willing to buy it? Because you can test out the waters, and if they are, great, take the next step. Or if you say you're a business and things are really tight, it's the perfect way just to get 20,000 more people to know about your business for free.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. And that's a really good overview, and a great way to do that for free as well. With all the Zuckerberg kind of hearing stuff going on and things that are happening with Facebook and the news, I know there's the guys that are listening to this podcast that are going, they got their aluminum foil hat on, and they don't have their information out there, and all that kind of stuff. There's those guys, and I totally get that. My wife is she's actually in that camp, right? So anytime Zuckerberg's on the news, she's like, "I told you," but and she's probably right about a lot of these things. But I'll tell you guys what, I really enjoy not being bombarded with like cat food advertisements because I don't have cats.
Exactly.
I like seeing the things that I actually care about. Like I'm into manly stuff. So I get advertisements about like knives and the other things that are probably similar to Wolf and Iron, but not as good. And then but I see things that I actually care about. And that's much more enjoyable than just scrolling through and just seeing a bunch of random ads that are just trying to hit me up with stuff that absolutely don't matter to me. So it's fantastic from I think a user's perspective, a consumer's perspective, but it's also great for businesses. And, from our perspective on the Rustic and Main side, not to give away our secrets, but as you guys can imagine, being able to target people and say, hey, you've just got engaged. Hey, by the way, we have these cool rings. Check them out. That's tremendous. And you can get very, very, guys like yourself, Raymond, your team get very, very good at figuring out how to target people with interest, but also Facebook has some things built in that allows the Facebook kind of behind the scenes algorithm to kind of know who's really responding, even the things that you may not have thought of, right? So it's just a great platform to advertise on, and I think we're in a really great space to reach people that you would have never thought of reaching before. And just I know a number of makers around the Charlotte area that they do fantastic work, and I think they stay pretty busy. But they go to a lot of shows, they make a lot of local appearances, and they do some kind of more, it's great to get out in the public, great to meet people, but I still consider that kind of old school kind of way of doing things. And, in the time, if I could take just, $200 or maybe $300 or whatever I think I would invest in time at being at a show, if I could turn around and spend that on really focused advertisements, I guarantee you that I could get, and I'm sure you would agree with this, we could get people to, we could get more information and certainly more leads, maybe even more sales than we'd probably get at a local show. Probably depends on the market, a little bit on the product, but I still think it's just a fantastic way to conduct business, and it's been done really well for us.
Yeah, it is. And just to kind of touch on that is, if I can encourage your audience who are thinking about doing this, maybe they're in the middle of testing the advertising waters, if you will, is the only people who don't make it are the people who quit. And what I mean by that is, it's true, you can, your first $100, $200, $50, $10 even, come out of the gate, just have the perfect creative and target the perfect audience, and you can win big. You can do that. But what happens is that sometimes someone will spend $100, $200, and they won't get the results they want right away, and they quit.
Yeah.
And the problem with that is, and you touched on it a few times, is Facebook, they're so good at understanding what is relevant to you, so they know you like manly things. And if I was a manly brand and I was selling something manly, it takes time for them to understand who's going to want your product and who's most interested in it. And so the people who quit too early, is that those are the people who they probably would have made it if they would have stuck to their guns. And I know, don't go into debt to do it,
sure,
but just keep going day in, day out, put what budget you can aside to do it, and you'll win. A case in point. So we have a brand that for the first 2 months, things were not going well. We were losing money or barely breaking even, but it took time to understand who was most interested, who would be willing to look at their product, buy their product. And so we needed that time to understand, and so does Facebook, because it uses artificial intelligence to learn, right? It's like a person. It starts to learn, how people react to your brand, your website, what you're offering. And then eventually, when it starts to understand, it'll better target the people who are willing to pay for it. But that same brand I told you about, the first few months were not going well. Now, fast forward 5 or 6 months, things are going extremely well. They've had to move into another warehouse. They're hiring employees, every single month because they can't keep up with the sales volume.
Yeah.
So I have this conversation probably once a week, and it's, don't give up. Just keep testing, keep learning, and eventually it will work.
Yep. Yeah, that's good. And, that really touches on something too that's key and common in every business. And that is when we begin our businesses, we have an assumption about who our customers are, who's going to buy from us, how much they're probably going to buy, how popular our whatever widget, product, service is going to be. And a lot of times those assumptions are wrong. And it does take market testing to figure out what is it that people actually want. And the great thing about the ads is that you can relatively inexpensively and in a very short time frame. I mean, you're talking about 2 months to figure that out. That's incredible from a business standpoint, because some businesses will, have spent in the past, right, tens of thousands, $100,000 and years before they finally nail down what it is that they're trying to sell to their customers and what their customers want, who their customers are, and those kinds of things. And so still the ability to do that in such a short time frame is just a ridiculously incredible, not only opportunity for business owners, but just an incredible turnaround. And so, we want things quick. We want things immediate. We expect stuff that's, especially when it's on the internet, to just work. You just plug in your stuff and all of a sudden sales are supposed to happen. Well, it doesn't always work that way. And historically for businesses, it's always been a challenge to overcome your assumptions and to really get down to the nitty gritty and know what your customers actually want, what they're really going to buy, what they're really interested in. And so ads are a great way to do that, and getting that data so quickly. It's unprecedented. It's like nothing never before. I want to jump into funnels real quick because these are huge. And this is a concept that is happening all around us. I think people are probably experiencing this. If you're part of the Wolf and Iron, you've experienced some funneling, just so you guys know. But to give us an idea of what a funnel is, how it works, and maybe even how that's applied in the ad space.
Sure. So I'm sure everyone has heard of the idea of knock on 100 doors if you're a door-to-door salesman, and eventually you'll get at least 2 to buy, right? So that's just a very traditional salesman ratio. And then of the 2 who buy, really, you probably had 10 good conversations with people inside the house, right? If you used the Kirby vacuum salesman example.
Right.
And so that's just a really simple scenario that's tried and true. And so funneling, essentially, it's just the method of how you get people's attention, how you can get them down to your website, and then how you can get them to buy from you and then buy again. And so pretty much this is where a lot of people go wrong. I'm happy you brought this up, is they think they can just put an ad in front of someone, or they can, whether that's a TV commercial, whatever, and if no one buys, well then, my product doesn't work, or this advertising space doesn't work, or whatever. No, it's all about nurturing and building a relationship. That's kind of why, even in our scenario, Mike, is our funnel was, I had followed you for quite a while.
Yeah.
We started communicating. It took me, and it was a communication that happened probably over a month and a half.
Yeah.
Before we decided to work together. And so that whole funnel is just your process of how you begin to nurture that potential customer to get them to buy. And this is where the more and more you have these people online who are just going for clickbaiting and to get you to buy, and they'll say, free, just pay shipping kind of models, which is nothing wrong against that. You can make good money off of that. But the people who are going to make it are the people who just really care about their customers and make a phenomenal experience. And that's like with you guys, you guys care about the details of Rustic and Maine and how your packaging and how you communicate. And when someone emails you with a rush shipping, you guys are quick to respond and you bend over backwards for it. So it's all about the details. And that is where you're going to have the most success. Now, to go back to the funneling aspect, is you really want to think about each stage of whether that's a local business or an online business, to each stage of a person has no idea who I am. Okay, how do I get them to be interested? How do I pinpoint what their needs are, their wants are? How do I convince them that, this is high quality, that this is exactly what they want? And then what's the experience of bringing them on board, selling them? And then also, how do I keep them from having the purchase regret, right? And to get them to want to buy again. And so there's a lot you have to think about, and that's really what separates people who are really, really good at not only just advertising, but also just really growing their business, because they really understand, how do I get customers, and then how do I make them raving fans?
Yeah, no, it's really good. To kind of give you guys an idea of how that works from the Wolf and Iron standpoint, and we're not doing a lot of ads really at all with Wolf and Iron at this point. Wolf and Iron has not had a lot of organic growth, so I've had to target some guys with ads, and that's where we've seen a lot of our growth. It's actually been really good, even though the ads haven't had big ad spend, and we haven't, this has just been a long time, over a few years, that Wolf and Iron has been growing. But part of the benefit to targeting guys rather than just having just some explosive, organic growth is that I know who's coming in the door. I know who I'm kind of reaching, my audience. These are my guys. And so if you're listening to this podcast, there's a good chance that you saw an advertisement or something like that, and you came across it. Well, it wasn't an accidental. You and I have some things in common. And so part of the funnel is, hey, here's Wolf and Iron, here's a podcast, or here's the Wolf and Iron Facebook page, or here's a quote or something like that, quote, meme or post or whatever you want to call it. And it's just kind of introducing you guys to Wolf and Iron, saying, hey, this is generally what we're doing. Do you have a general interest? If you do, follow, listen, maybe subscribe to the podcast, that kind of stuff. And that's sort of at the top of the funnel. And as you get down a little bit further in the funnel, now we've got this Facebook group, and I've told you guys about that a few times on the podcast. We're having great conversations over there. This is not a snake oil type of thing. These guys love pursuing what it means to be a man, and the guys over there are very high caliber. And so that's the next stage of that funnel. The final kind of stage, or one of the final stages of the funnel, will eventually be a membership site that we're going to launch down the road. But, some guys think about funnels in terms of just sales. Like, okay, I've got my leads, and then I've got my potential sales, and then I've got the people who are actually going to buy, and then that's it. I think about a funnel in terms of value. Okay, like at the very broadest sense, you're going to get some value. When you get further down in that funnel, you're going to get more value. You're going to get more things that impact you. And then at the final base of that funnel, where you're part of the membership site, once that launches, you're going to get lots of value, ridiculous amounts of value. And I almost think about it as shields, right? Locking shields with your brothers. You've got these guys that they're just kind of spread out, right? And then you're kind of coming in and you're locking shields and getting tighter and tighter. And as you do that, you become more and more focused on the things that are going to really serve you and benefit you as a man. And so the funneling, we can think about this, and certainly people do this in a very selfish way of, I just want to make money. How can I sell my product or my idea or my courses or whatever case and just make money? And that gives kind of everything a bad name, social media a bad name. But there are ways to do this, guys, and especially if you have a business with integrity, and I hope you do, there are ways to do this where you're thinking, how can I add more and more value the closer and closer people get to purchasing from me or the service or whatever the case is. And that's really what we try to do here with Wolf and Iron. We try to do the same thing with Rustic and Maine. And so, think about funneling not only as, hey, how can I get these guys closer to buying something from me, but also as in, how can I continue to add more and more value as they get closer and closer into the things that I'm really about and that I'm really excited about sharing with them. So, good stuff.
I think you brought up a good point. Real quick, Mike, I want to touch on that. Can a lot of people, you have, let's say 20% of people that are impulse buyers, right? They'll buy right away within the first day and you'll get them. But then you have a large chunk of audience that they're interested, but they're not convinced. And just to bring up your point is a lot of people are they sit back and they watch. They watch to see, are you consistent? Do you consistently bring value? And really, it's those people that are more than likely going to be the raving fans because they're more careful, and it's your consistently being having integrity, bringing them value, and being consistent with producing that content and having their best interest in mind is going to be where you're going to get the other probably 60 to 80% of your business, because they know that they're interested, but they're really waiting to see, is this the real deal?
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great. Yeah, and obviously with what I'm doing with Wolf and Iron especially, there is very much that honor and integrity kind of built in there. And so I want to, the whole brand is based around being legitimate, authentic, right? If at any point I'm not living up to my own, I'm not living up to my own standards as to what it means to be a man, then I'm beginning to damage the brand, but also my mission. So that's great. Great point. I want to talk about some of the guys that have these sort of hangups, these overcoming the kind of the hardships of the mindsets that they're kind of stuck in for entrepreneurs. You mentioned this before we began the podcast conversation. Touch on that, because I think that's going to be key for guys, because there are some challenges here, because we're moving into some things that are relatively unknown, things that people aren't familiar with. And as an entrepreneur, obviously there's those that just love to go out and take risk, and we will spend money and we don't care. We absolutely believe in ourselves 100%. And it's not until we've just, gone into amazing debt and lost everything that we stop. I'm not one of those guys, by the way. But there are those out there like that. And then there are those who are more cautious. They're more risk averse. But what are the kind of the challenges and the kind of hang-ups, the hardships that the entrepreneurs have that you'd want to speak to?
Yeah, and it's funny. Every man really is different. It's true. You have some men that they just don't let things get to them, and they just keep trudging ahead, and they're the ideal man. I wish I was more like that. But it's funny, before I started my business, I watched a lot of my friends who were entrepreneurial. I mapped out this trend that I see all entrepreneurs make. Not all, but a lot of the ones I was close to. Is they leave, they start their business, and they have this really big emotional high. And everything's great, and they're on fire. And then the reality of, oh man, this is going to take a lot longer, and I have to work a lot harder than I expected, and things get really, really tough. And then they hit this bottom, this big state of uncertainty, depression, anxiety, whatever. And then if they keep going and they keep battling through it, then they start to come out of it. Yeah. And even though I saw that, and I was mentally prepared for it, but it was still very different for me. And this is where I think as a man, you really need to understand what grounds you. And this is where I love the last podcast that you had, was a couple of weeks ago with Ken Coleman, is finding your calling. If you know your calling, then you'll be able to keep pushing through, because you know this is what you're supposed to do. Yeah. But if you think that I think this is my calling, I haven't tested yet, but I'm going to keep going. This is where, for me, you really need to understand what grounds you. And so every man is different. So for me, as long as I know that me and God are okay, me and my wife are okay, and those two things are in place, I'm going to be okay. But even going beyond that is, I want to encourage all men that you're going to reach low states, whether that's depression, anxiety. And I had massive amounts of depression, anxiety in the first year of business, because, money's tight, things aren't going well, and there's a lot of uncertainty. But what really helped me, even in this, probably the past 5 months, is, and this is where I was encouraged, and for a while I didn't believe in this whole mindset routine and things like that. I thought, oh, that's just this frou-frou stuff, right? I'm a man, I don't need that kind of stuff. Sure. But it's fundamentally changed me and my business. And really it's just because whether, you could say that I'm a double-minded man, and sometimes I forget, so every morning I have this routine for me. I do 5 things. Every single morning, the first thing I do is, I'm a Christian man, is I pray. The second thing I do is I say 5 things I'm thankful for, because those things you're thankful for, it makes all of the things that are going really bad in your business, or not going well, or fires you have to put out in your business, seem small, right? Because you're like, oh, everything's going to be okay. Everything's still going well for me. And then the third thing I do is I write out 5 wins, or things that made me fulfilled the day before. And I write them out. What was a win in my business, or what made me feel personally fulfilled to do? Okay. And again, that is just to remind me what's important to me, and to remind me to always being optimistic. Okay. And then the fourth thing that I do is I read my goals for the year, because when you're in the middle of your business and your things are going wrong, whatever, and sometimes you forget what you're trying to accomplish in that year or 5 years. And so for me, I remember over the past several years, I would forget. And then 3 or 6 months would go by, and I find my goal sheet again. And then what would happen? I'm like, oh man, I haven't been working on this. And so every morning I read my goals. And then this is where I really didn't believe it, but I close my eyes and I imagine what it's going to look and what it's going to feel like when I accomplish those goals. Because for me, sometimes motivation is very fleeting, right? Sometimes you just aren't motivated. Let's just be honest. And so sometimes it helps to remind me what that motivation is. And that's what I do. And that's has fundamentally changed me, my business. It's probably been the happiest I've been in the last 5 months. And I've been probably in years of my life, even before I started my business. And so I said all that because I want to remind men that it's not going to be easy, but you need to understand what grounds you. And you need to make sure you're always doing those things that ground you, because even when things are going well, you need to remind yourself what is going well, what you are thankful for, and where you're headed and what you're going to accomplish. Because I love it. I've watched a lot of entrepreneurs I've been friends with, and I've talked to a lot of them. And more so than being creative and being the smartest guy in the room, it's all about being persistent, and it's all about being consistent. And sometimes it's being too stubborn to stop, yep. What I call it.
Yep.
And because you will accomplish it, because if you're going for it, you'll learn, you'll adapt, because no one wants to fail. So you're going to adapt to win. Yep. But more than anything, it's about just holding to your guns, pushing through it, and not stopping for anything. And so if there's anything that I can help anyone in your audience understand, is that in today's world, you can make a good living, probably a better living than it was working at your other job. But I know that is for me. I hope that is for you too, Mike. Yep. And you can make a better living doing exactly what you want to do, exactly what you love. You can get there, but the first couple of years are really tough.
Yeah.
But you'll make it if you just stick to your guns.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely right. That, my friend, is an excellent morning routine. I mean, that is just fantastic. I love the gratitude there. I love starting out the day with prayer, and gratitude is so powerful. And just saying, here are the things that I've got going on that I'm thankful for. We all wake up thinking, crap, here's the mess I got to deal with today, or what if this happens, right? But having that gratitude session is just so important, because we do. Especially if you're here in America or wherever you're listening, if you're able to listen to a podcast, you're doing better than a lot of people are doing. And that's so important. It's absolutely key. So just fantastic, guys. I hope you're taking notes on that. Go back and listen to those 5 steps, because you're going to want to emulate that or adopt some of those things into your morning routine, because it absolutely does. Mindset is so important. I'm a naturally optimistic person, and so I don't do a whole lot of gratitude stuff. I just kind of, just sort of gaily skip through the day. I don't know. That doesn't sound right, but I just kind of assume things are going to work out. Things are going to be all right. And that helps me a lot. And I can't believe I said gaily skip through the day. This is what came to my mind. But I do. I assume things are going to be okay. And I've kind of thought things through, and things are going to work out. I know a lot of people aren't like that. A lot of people that are friends of mine, especially men, are not like that. And just people in general, we're all different. We're all wired up a little bit differently. But I love even still having moments where especially when I'm going to bed at night, I just think about all the blessings that I have, and the things that I'm gifted with, blessed to have, friends that I have. And this is even before I started businesses and all that kind of stuff, guys. It's just gratitude goes a long way to just making you a happier individual and a nicer person to be around. Also, it takes that stress off, as well. So it puts you in the right mindset, and makes you understand that, man, if you've got this many blessings, you can probably tackle on one more. And so just stick it through, power through with your business problems, and learn from them. So really, really good stuff. You got me pumped up, man. That's good.
Good. And everybody's different. And I'm not the first person to come up with a routine like that. I just adapted it. I adapted it to myself, where I knew were weak areas. And that's where you really have to understand you as a man, where you have to be honest with yourself. Am I pessimistic or optimistic? And I'm a believer. I believe you can reprogram your body and reprogram your mindset, and even your mentality and everything like that. I believe you can reprogram. It takes building habits. And it's been so powerful for me. I want to tell everyone. And that's just where we have one life, and why be pessimistic when you can be optimistic and be happy and be thankful? And life is all about budgeting. I'm a huge budgeter too, my business, my personal life. Yeah. It's all about budgeting. And so if budgeting your money to have what you want and to build the wealth you want, budgeting your time so that you don't regret anything. And that's where I forget things so easily. I love my wife. She's amazing, but she understands that. She understands that sometimes when I'm in the zone, I don't hear anything else, and I don't mean anything by it. It's just I'm a one thing at a time kind of guy. Yeah. And so having that daily reminder lets you look back and just remember what's really important to me and my family.
Yeah, that's great. Yep. Really good advice. Kind of getting back a little bit to the social media stuff here. What do you see out there that's working? I mean, that people are doing, the tactics, the techniques, and things like that maybe people should adopt that's being successful. out there? Because, we all are part of social media. We see Facebook ads. We see stuff coming through on Instagram, and there's all kinds of stuff. There's text stuff. There's crazy, insane ads. There's the, you won't believe this one thing that cures diabetes, that kind of stuff, right? But then there's other things. What do you see out there that's working?
Sure. Above everything else is being authentic. And authentic doesn't mean you spend $10,000 on photo shoots and video shoots and to make this high quality piece of content. Yeah. It means you make something extremely genuine. Probably some of the most successful campaigns we run for businesses is when we have customers of theirs do reviews of the products or the service that they have, and then we use those as ads, or something as simple as doing unboxing and unpackaging videos of a product, because it's authentic. It's from the person's point of view. We have them talk through what they like about the product or the service, why they chose it. And it's so authentic that you as a consumer, when you see that, your immediate thought isn't, okay, yeah, whatever, they just want my money. Or it's not, okay, they're just trying to convince me to buy this product. It's from someone else's opinion, point of view. And so it says a lot more than you as a business spending $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on this high budget advertising. It still works, but at the end of the day, this is where we talked about at the beginning, is you have to remember people are still people. So if you treat them like people and you care about them, you nurture them, and you deal with them honestly and authentically, you're going to attract the people who want your product or your service, and the people who aren't attracted to it are going to go somewhere else. But at the end of the day, the more authentic you are, that works better than anything else.
Yeah, that's great. Great point. And you guys remember, it's social media, not sales media, right? I mean, we've all seen the commercials where it's like, it's a Chevy ad and people are just raving about their new Chevy. And then at the little bottom, there's the text that says paid actors, not real Chevy owners, or something like that, right? I'm just picking on Chevy here. But whatever it is, we've all seen those commercials, and at first we get kind of sucked in like, okay, this person genuinely likes nope, they're just an actor, and we're all familiar with that. And so the ability to have your regular Joe be able to reach thousands and thousands of people, or even hundreds of people, whatever it is, but to reach people and say, hey, I'm just a genuine person. Here's how I genuinely feel about whatever, and be authentic. That's really where we should be headed. And that's really what people are craving. And so I think that's a great call out. I think that's really great. Authenticity, and not faked authenticity like those terrible commercials, but the real deal. Just be yourself. And, I'm really thankful for things like YouTube, which is just, growing up, we had all these, anytime we saw someone on TV, it was always like professional speakers, professional actors, people who had this as their professional job. They had their hair done, they had makeup on and all that kind of stuff. And then YouTube comes out, and it's just like, you're just anybody's talking about anything. And if they have if they're an expert on it, or if they have some authority in the subject, or if they're just interesting to look at or watch, you watch it. And it's really just taken off. It's just taken the pressure off of other people who really just have a message to get out there, or a product they want to get out there. It's really just taking the pressure off of us to just be ourselves and know that there's somebody out there who this message is meant for, and they're going to connect. And that's really what it's all about, being authentic. So,
yeah. And to go with that is, video is one of the best ways you can be authentic, because whether that's in the moment, it's you speaking in front of a camera, it's picking up on your personalities, your body language. But so beyond just that, it's more authentic than any other type of content, is that specifically with Facebook and Instagram, is that Facebook pushes so much preference for video because they know it's more authentic and they know people engage with it more, that they reserve priority up to 70% of the newsfeed for video. Wow. Because they understand it's more authentic and it's more engaging. So for anyone who's listening, if you're starting a business, you're going to run a business, or you do run a business, do more video.
Yeah. Good call out. Excellent. So I know some guys are listening to this and they're thinking, okay, this is great, Mike. This is great Raymond. Great advice here, but I don't know if my business is going to be a hit. Like, I have no idea if my thing is something that people are really going to want to buy. Obviously we've talked about, having some ads and getting some interest and stuff like that. But Raymond, I know also that you guys are picky about who you work with. And there's probably reasons for that, but is there a way that you can, is there anything that you can tell? Is it just kind of gut level where you go, this business has something that I'm actually interested in, or there's something that I think actually would do well in the market? I mean, is there a way to tell like the business has the thing that's going to be successful, or is it just kind of really up to your preference, gut feel? How's that go for you guys?
Sure. So first thing we look at is, are people currently selling that product now or that service? So, with Rustic in Maine, with your guys' custom rings, yes, people buy wedding rings. It happens. It's going to happen probably until the end of time. And so we know that people buy those products. So we already know that it has the potential to sell. Now, what we look for is there anything that's unique about it? Because, while there's a K's and all these other jewelries at every single mall in America, sure, what's going to make you unique? And so using Rustic in Maine as an example, what made us, obviously because I already knew about you guys because I followed you for a while, was that yes, you sell a product that people buy every single day. But what was unique about you and a business should think about is everything you do, it's all about the story behind the ring and the story behind the material. And so for you as a business, is what is unique about you? So what we first thing we look at is we look at, are people currently buying or selling that service? Mm-hmm. If they're not, if it's something completely brand new, then that means you need to do some testing to see if people are willing to buy it. And we talked about that earlier. You can pay or you can do free channels. Mm-hmm. Secondly is there something unique about that product or that service that is done a little differently than anyone else? Or is there such a deeper meaning and story and emotional feeling behind that product or service that gives you a competitive advantage that we can use and tell better stories? Because people love storytelling, right? And so if you can tell a really good story, people emotionally gravitate to stories they relate to. And so if you have a really cool backstory and each product or service has a really cool story, that just tells us that, okay, you have a good product, a great story that we can sell. And then from there, it's just a matter of does the math make sense for where you want to grow your business to? Yeah,
no, that makes sense. And I think having that connection, guys, I mean, is so key to your product. Don't just put something out there and say, here's my widget, everybody go buy it. Have that connection. I was thinking today actually about something I would have never come up with as Black Rifle Coffee, right? Super successful, does really great in the Bang Bang community, right? It's everybody likes to shoot, loves Black Rifle Coffee and that kind of stuff. But of course, it's not something I would have come up with because the old man inside of me is like, it's just coffee, you dumbass, just drink it.
Exactly.
And I would have never thought like, make coffee centered around this idea of, shooting and America and freedom and all this other kind of stuff. But guys connect with that. And it's just, I don't know why the old guy inside of me is from New York, but it's how he comes across. But it's just, there's somebody out there who has that idea of like, I can take this to the next level, right? I mean, how many people out there sell coffee? It's ridiculous. And how many brands out there? But it's about making that connection that people see it and they go, okay, it's not just coffee. It's more than that for me, right? I don't drink Black Rifle Coffee, but if you guys do, that's great. I don't even know if it's good. But the point is that people are making that connection to what is being sold. It means more than the product itself. And I think that really is, you made a great point. It's about making that connection and being able to tell the story and get people to kind of connect with that so that they feel that they're part of something, not that they're just buying something. And so that's really going to help you stand out, especially if you're in a market where you're trying to compete with some existing kind of behemoths out there. Maybe you're trying to sell, I don't know, whatever it is, coffee even, whatever it is, what's going to cause you to stand apart. And so I think that's a great call out. Well, we're wrapping things.
No,
go ahead.
Oh, sorry. I say that's real quick. That's one thing what I love about the day we live in is that people don't buy products anymore just because the product is there, like before the internet. They buy things they relate to. And that's why whatever you offer, your product or your service, that someone's going to relate to it if you make it relatable. If you make it just really static and, really bland, well, then no one's probably going to want to buy it because they can't relate to it. That's why Black Rifle Coffee Company, all those veterans and pro-American patriots, things like that, they relate to it and they buy it because they believe in that. And so the more you can make it relatable, there's always a niche somewhere of people who are going to buy it and relate to it.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely right. So wrapping things up here, I got one more question for you. You have a really unique opportunity to help people grow their dreams. I mean, you really do. I mean, you've helped us tremendously. And I can just imagine what that must be like. Obviously, there's the normal kind of stressors that come along with having a business. But how does it impact you as a man to do what you do, to know that you're helping other people grow their businesses, which means giving other people jobs? It's not just about selling stuff, but I mean, Rustic in Maine, for example, and we've got about 8 people who work for us now. We're going to be bringing on another 3 or 4 in the next month and a half or so. And so, you're helping other people build their businesses, which is causing other impact on other people's lives. How does that make you feel at the end of the day? What are your thoughts on that as a man? Just as you kind of lay down at night, or as you think upon what it is that you do?
Wow, that's a really good question. And a lot of people don't ask me that question, and I wish they would more often, because they're just like, oh, your business is profitable. But it goes so much deeper than that. And that's another reason why we're so picky, because when I first started, I was a freelancer and I worked with some brands at first that I was embarrassed to tell people I worked with. And so ever since then, I told myself, I'm only going to work with people who I believe in them, their business, and that they make the world a better place. Because I want to feel fulfilled when they're growing, because they're making the world a better place. And that's why, as a man, everything you do, I mean, like I said, life is short. Everything you do, so make sure it's something that is bettering other people's lives. And for me, I wish I was the kind of person that, I was an author or a creative or a musician, and whatever I did reached millions of people. But what I am good at is growing people's businesses. And so that's why we're so picky, and we pick businesses that we can just completely rally behind, shout at the mountaintops how great this company is, because we believe in it so much. And so at the end of the day, it's a great feeling to not only know that you're growing their business, but that they're also touching all these other people and all these other, workers and customers. And it's a good feeling. And honestly, to be honest with you, in my daily mindset routine, it happens very often where, as a fulfillment, I put down even Rustic in Maine or one of our other clients, how well they're doing, because it's one of the first times in my life where I'm like, you know what, I am a part of something, and I'm doing something that is helping other people, and it's making the world a better place. And so as a man, it's really one of the things that helps me be fulfilled. And for the longest time, I was unsure if I was going to be fulfilled doing this, until I made that change to just partner with businesses who I can be fulfilled through by growing them.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Well, you're definitely making an impact for us, and we love having you as part of our team. And guys who are listening to that, you're listening to Raymond's response there, and you're thinking, man, I want that. I want some of that. I want to feel that way. I want to feel useful, fulfilled, purposeful, significant. I believe you guys can have that. It's part of the high call. And I think you can experience that in your families. I think you can experience that in your career, in your business, in your entrepreneurship. I think there's a lot of opportunities to do that, guys, but you've got to take action. You've got to get serious about it. And listen to the podcast is a great way to start. Head over to the Wolf and Iron community, obviously, wolfandiron.com/the group, if you want to begin having some conversations with guys over there about these kinds of things, and continue getting inspired. Raymond's over there. I'm over there. And Raymond, how can guys get in touch with you? People who are listening to this are thinking, man, I need to find out a little bit more about Social Hacker. What's a great way to get in touch with you guys?
Sure. So about the agency, you can go to socialhacker.co. Okay. You can reach out to me on Instagram at @RGA Johnston. And then for the guys in the community, just tag me in a comment if you want to chat. I think it'd be good. Even if you guys have a bunch of comments, just let's start a chat in the community, and I'll do my best to respond and comment on those. And yeah, those are probably the 3 best ways to contact me.
Excellent. All right, my friends. So thank you so much for being on here again. Great conversation. I know the guys are going to get a lot out of this. And so I look forward to talking to you next time.
Great. Thanks, Mike. Love being here.
Well, there you have it, men. I'd love to know what you thought about the episode. Feel free to reach out to me on any of my social media networks. And look, if you got something out of this, make sure another guy does too. Share the episode and make sure it gets in front of the guys that need to hear it the most. Until next time, keep your powder dry. And may a fair wind be always in your sails.